Hi guys, this is Frank from Altcoin Buzz, and today we're going to do something a little bit different. We're going to look at a range of different cryptocurrencies, do TA on them, and we're not going to cover any fundamentals. Now, in terms of fundamentals, if you check out our YouTube channel, you can see a lot of videos by Matty, who covers the news. He covers the fundamentals of a lot of coins that we like. And of course, Leia does many great interviews. We've done interviews with Andreas Antonopoulos, Charlie Lee from Litecoin, CZ from Binance, and many great others. So feel free to check those out for fundamentals. Today, it's going to be pure TA, pure price action. If you enjoy this content and want to see more of it, don't forget to subscribe, like, and hit that notification button, as it really helps to support the channel. Before I get started, I just want to let you know that I am not a financial advisor and that trading and investing presents financial risk. All right, we're going to be looking at CVT, Cybervein, Cardano ADA, ChainLink LINK, Enjin ENJ, and finally Quant Network QNT. We're going to be looking only at the 1 month and 1 week chart to get the big picture, and we're also going to compare it to Bitcoin, which I think is also getting an even bigger picture, because if you look at the USD chart, you might see some nice moves, but if you're not outperforming Bitcoin, then the coin really isn't performing that well overall. So starting with Cybervein here, we clearly have a very strong double top here at the 7,000 sat level approximately, and then of course we have a very strong bottom over here. Now unfortunately on the monthly chart we have no clear trend. The only thing which is clear is that we've seen lower lows. So you can see we had a low here in December 2018, and since then we went down for a lower low over here. So this is not a great sign in terms of looking for an uptrend. And really there's not too much to say about this chart because we only have barely 2 years of data. Okay, so let's go down now to the weekly chart. Now on the weekly chart, we can also very clearly see these lines that we drew before at the top here, at the bottom here, and everything within here is pretty much just ranging, right? Because we have no clear trend. Now on the weekly, we can see another support line, which is relatively important for a couple reasons. Number one, we have seen the price bounce several times from here, and also we've seen it bounce with wicks. So if you see a wick coming through to a price level and bouncing right back up, this is a sign of strength, because it means that the price did not stay at this level very much. Buyers flooded into the market and pushed the price right back up. Now the downside about this is that buyers have been forced to buy at this level multiple times. So if you see where this line is drawn, it's a bit messy. The price came down to about 2,700 sats, then we came down to 3,000 sats, but I would say approximately 3,000 sats. This level is getting exhausted because we've touched it several times. So don't get fooled into thinking, oh yeah, this support is really strong because every time we come down to it, it bounces. There's two things to consider. Number one is the number of times that we come down to hit this support, because every time that we come down, the buyers get exhausted. There's less and less buyers to buy every time we come down. Number two is the extent of the bounce. So you see the first time we came down here, this is when we came to the 2,700 sat level. We had a bounce up to the 4,200. Then we had a bounce over here from the 3,000 approximately all the way up to the 5,000. Now this is where you start seeing weakness. Here we saw a bounce again from approximately this level, but here we saw a lower high. So that's not a great sign. And here again, what we're looking, if we want to see strength, is a higher high. In other words, higher than this previous level of 4,500 sats. Because if, for example, we only reach this level, then you can see that this level is not providing a good support as it was before. And the more times that we hit this level, the more times it becomes weaker. Okay, and the other important thing about this level is that we are at the 21 EMA on the weekly. So if we close below this 21 EMA and we close below this support, yeah, it's not going to be looking good. In terms of the MACD, you can see that we have a clear loss in bullish momentum with a histogram ticking down, and the MACD going below the signal line, again signaling bearish momentum. All right, before we get on to the exciting coins, which I know a lot of you want to look at, I personally like Quant. I like it so much that we actually did a 31-minute review. I spent 3 days. This was a labor of love for me. And it was good fun getting deep into some of the controversies behind it, but also into the fundamentals. and it's got really solid tokenomics. The team is very well connected. They have a lot of reputable institutions who they have partnered with, and probably more who they are not allowed to talk about due to NDAs. In general, it seems a pretty solid project. But now, of course, we're looking at TA. Let's look at the monthly chart. I've actually done a small TA on this in the past. Okay, so on the monthly chart, if we just draw a triangle here to illustrate the fact that we are in a consolidating zone. So what we can see from this triangle is that we had a close in February 2019 at the top. We had another close in June 2020 at the top. And in terms of the bottom, we had a close in May 2019 once, and then also in February 2020. So what this triangle tells you is that there is fighting going on between the bears and the bulls, and they're getting into this tighter and tighter zone. And if we reach this level, this is the apex, then we could see a very big move upwards or downwards. And even if we break out before then, we are likely to see a solid move up. So what you would be looking for here for a confirmation that we're going into a new bull move is a monthly close outside of this triangle. All right, now let's go down to the weekly time frame. So on the weekly time frame, we can redraw this triangle to adapt it to the weekly. For this, we would have to zoom out a little bit like so. So for example, if you don't want to wait for a monthly close outside of the triangle, you might just wait for a weekly close outside of this triangle, which might be a good enough signal in and of itself. Okay, so despite the fact that the weekly has been consolidating in an up and down movement, and we've seen lower highs and higher lows. So again, just to clarify, we saw a high back here in February 2019. We saw a lower high in July 2019, and then again a lower high in June 2020. We saw a low back here in May 2019, a higher low over here in March 2020. Again, this is a sign of a consolidating range, and it can be a sign that once we break through this, things can get really parabolic. All right, now despite the fact that the weekly has been going sort of all over the place for the past couple of years, you can see that we had this bullish structure, this uptrend since March 2020. So we had a high in April 2020, we had a low in May 2020, we had a double top over here in June 2020, a higher low over here in the middle of June, and then we saw a higher high. So essentially we have a high, a low, double top, higher low, higher high, again, bullish structure. Now, the problem is that right now we are testing this bullish structure. And if we have a close below this blue line here, below 65,000 sats, it's not going to be looking great, because then we break the bullish structure which we saw in this box. And also, of course, the weekly has already closed below the 21 EMA. We wouldn't want to see another close below that level. That being said, if you're a believer in Quant Network, now might not be a horrible time to buy. This could potentially be the bottom in terms of QNT BTC, but you really would have to have a stop loss below the previous low. But if you were to do this, it would be a bit of a gamble, because we are in this consolidating structure. We do not have a clear uptrend from 2 years ago. We only have a new uptrend which started here and which is being tested now. Ideally, you want to see higher lows. You don't want to see double bottoms, because they show a little bit more weakness in the market. So it would be a bit of a gamble. If I were to enter here, I would have a stop loss at the previous low, which is at the 56,700 sat level. All right, in terms of the RSI, there's nothing too much to say here. It's all over the place. The weekly MACD looks interesting. Unlike CVT, we have not yet crossed bearish over here, but as you can see, things are very critical right now. If we go below this level, the MACD will confirm bearish, the histogram will continue going lower, and we will have continuation of this bearish crossover. So very critical level for QNT right now. All right, now let's get to one of the coins which I know you guys are interested in for sure, or at least most of you based on the views in our videos, which is ADA BTC. We're going to check out the monthly chart first of all. Okay, so the monthly chart for Cardano is interesting, and we actually covered this briefly in the ChainLink versus Cardano video, which will hit $10 billion first. And what I said there, I'll say again, Cardano has only been bullish for the last few months. And this is the great thing about zooming out. You really start to see the bigger picture. So the bigger picture is that we have seen a very critical level break, which is this 867 sat level, we broke from there bearish and found an all-time low of 396 sats in August 2019. Now, ADA has technically outperformed Bitcoin since the beginning of this chart. You can see we had an open of 900 sats back in November 2017. Right now we are at 1,265 sats. So, okay, from that perspective, we are doing better than Bitcoin, but this whole market structure is very problematic because we just have this strong dump here. In other words, just clearly showing that there was way too much overexcitement in this market. Very few, if any, of these buyers were intending to hold long term. And then we saw this double bottom, we tried again, but no, we just failed. Really just not sexy at all. But now, of course, the last few months has seen very strong bullish volume on the monthly, and we have had a 216% move from the bottom, which is a good sign that things might be starting to turn around. But until we break the 1,942 sat level, we really can't get too excited about the monthly chart of ADA BTC. All right, let's now take this down to the weekly to get a bit more specific. So unlike the monthly chart, in which we clearly cannot see an uptrend, in fact, it's a very clear downtrend, on the weekly, you can see that we have a clear uptrend over here. We have a high in April 2020, a low in May 2020, then we saw a higher high. This was the first sign that we were really entering a bull market in June 2020. We saw a higher low in June 2020, and then of course this higher high in July 2020. This of course is a very healthy move up. And unlike Quant Network, which was testing its previous low, ADA BTC has a long way to go before it comes down to its previous low, which is all the way down at the 697 sat level. So what that means is that ADA BTC could fall by another 25%, 30%, and still be in an uptrend, still be bullish on the weekly time frame. So even if it does correct to that level, don't lose hope. It does not mean that we are going to see new lows. However, it is concerning that the monthly time frame is not looking that great. Now, if we were to come down, a key level to hold would be this 950 sat level, because this marks the previous high on the weekly time frame. Now, this does not mean that we will come down to this level, but it is a potential level for a re-entry. Now, if we look at the EMAs here, the orange line here is the 21 EMA, and it's quite possible that if we do correct, that this line will align with a 21 EMA, which is usually a solid time to re-enter a market when it's of course bullish, which the weekly is. All right, in terms of the RSI, we of course saw this extended RSI. We reached 85 level. We have corrected significantly from there, so we're not in the sort of danger overbought zone. The MACD is looking very healthy. We have higher highs. The histogram is starting to tick down a little bit, but we're still in bullish territory. As you can see, we still have green bars and we still have a strong divergence between the MACD and the signal line. All right, that's it for ADA BTC. Now let's have a look at ENJ. Okay, so at first glance, you might think this chart is all over the place, and it kind of is. We have no very obvious trend, but if you zoom in a little bit, you can see that we do in fact have a higher high from January 2018 to March 2018. And we also have higher low from December 2017 to November 2018. And then of course we also have the double bottom over here, which was marked on August 2019. And in addition to that, of course, we opened at 200 sats back in December 2017. We are right now at 1,750 sats. So a very solid appreciation in value against Bitcoin. Now, in addition to this, we are currently above the 21 and the 12 EMA on the monthly. That is a good sign. We would ideally want to hold that level. All right, let's now take this down to the weekly chart. Okay, so on the weekly chart, we have a clear uptrend over here, which started all the way back in August 2019 with higher highs and higher lows. But unfortunately, right now, in the past week, we broke this previous low. So we had a low of 1,642 sats in June 2020, and we broke this low in July 2020, going all the way down to 1,454 sats. Not only did we break that low, but we have a lower candle close in July 2020 compared to the close that we saw back in June 2020. So this unfortunately does mean that the uptrend is officially over, since we have a low, a lower high, and a lower low. But I wouldn't be super bearish on this just yet, because what does often happen is that we get what's called a complex consolidation. So just to show you what I mean, a classic uptrend will have a move up, it will have a move down, and then it will have a move up, and it will go on like that until the uptrend is broken. But what can also happen is that instead of getting these simple corrections, you have a move up, and then you have a move down, and then you have a move up. And now what happens here is that you can have a move down, and then the next move up doesn't hit the previous high, and the next move down hits the previous low. But this essentially is a longer form of consolidation, and then the next move goes up again. So complex consolidations are very common, especially in markets which have gone up a lot, and especially in markets which have gone parabolic. Now, ENJ hasn't really gone parabolic, so one might not be expecting a complex consolidation just now. But nonetheless, the fact that ENJ has outperformed Bitcoin over the last few years is bullish. We have seen higher highs and higher lows on the monthly time frame, so I would not give up hope on ENJ just yet. Now, if you are looking for an entry point on ENJ, what I would do is I would draw a Fibonacci over here up to the top, and I'd be looking to enter somewhere around the 618 Fibonacci level, which marks the 1,300 sat level. But that being said, we have already had a 32% correction from the previous high. So now would not be a horrible time to buy either. But in terms of technical analysis, we have broken the weekly uptrend, and we have a close below the 21 EMA, so not an ideal time to get back in. And in terms of the RSI, not too much to say here. It's kind of all over the place, although we do have a low, lower high, and lower low, which is not great. And in terms of the MACD, you can see we have a very clear crossover of the MACD and the signal line, and the histogram is ticking down, suggesting that we might be in for a slightly longer correction. Okay, so finally, let's have a look at Link. Now, Link BTC is a fun one. I actually got in at Link at the $8.6 level, and I closed my position at the $9.6 level for a small gain. Link, of course, is the sexiest chart in crypto right now. If you look at the last 2.5 years or so, all the way back since October 2017, we have had a very clear uptrend on the monthly chart, which is not only in an uptrend, but has gone parabolic over the past 5 months, recording 155% gain within that time period. So not much to say on the monthly chart other than that we are super bullish. Okay, let's go down to the weekly chart now. So on the weekly chart, you can see that we are hugging this 21 EMA. Ever since January 2020, we have not broken below this level, and we have come down to test it several times. So if you were looking for a re-entry, this would probably not be a bad time once we get to this 21 EMA. We are currently quite far away from that level. So despite the fact that ChainLink is in a very solid uptrend, just note that the Link price against BTC could easily fall 32% coming down to this EMA, coming down to this 21 EMA, approximately 32%, and we would still be in a bullish market. So if you haven't taken any profits on Link, now might be a time to do so. But nonetheless, there is no strong sell signal, that is for sure, at least on the weekly time frame. Okay, in terms of the RSI, you can see that we've had many attempts to breach the 80 level, and I mentioned this in a previous video actually, that this was a critical level. That's why I called a local top for Link USDT in the $9 to $10 level. We did actually correct at $9 quite significantly. Now, of course, we have broken that level. We're getting back to the $10 level, but this is the sign that things can get a little overheated. And right now we have calmed down significantly. So again, no reason to think that Link is going to correct right now based on this information. In terms of the MACD, you see we have a strong divergence between the MACD and the signal line. Again, a sign of very strong bullish momentum. And the histogram is kind of ticking down now, but still very much in the green zone. Okay guys, that's been it from me. Let me know what you thought of the analyses. Did you learn something? I hope that you did. Which of these coins is your favorite? Are you trading any of them? Have you bought any recently? Have you taken any profits recently? Have you FOMO'd into the top of Link? I hope you haven't. But if you have, I wish you the best of luck. And guys, please don't forget to like and subscribe, as it really does help to support the channel and all these videos that me, Matty, and Leia are making. Thanks very much, guys. And with that being said, I'll see you in the next one.